Welcome to our topic, Remove and Archive Student Book History. Our learning objectives are threefold. We'll begin with why. We remove and archive student book history so that we can clean up our student data, and that includes various reporting. The statuses that can be removed and archived include collected, reconciled paid and partial paid, and reconciled lost. We'll discuss what those terms mean as we train. We'll also talk about when and do some how step-by-step instruction. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we'll get started. To begin, let's talk about the different statuses that can be removed and archived from student book history. To accomplish that, I'm going to first click on Find a Book and select a particular book that contains those statuses. I'm going to be using Glencoe Pre-Algebra. I'll go ahead and click on the book, and when I do, various information about this book and the individuals that have been distributed or collected and so on this book will populate beneath the blue grid header. Note the student's name, the accession numbers that were distributed, and the status. I'm going to start with collected by clicking on status to sort collected to the top. How does collected come about? Collected comes about simply when a particular session number that was distributed to a particular individual is collected back. We can remove and archive collected statuses. Other statuses that can be removed and archived include paid and lost. I'm going to click status again so that we can discuss paid and lost. Note I have 3 reconciled paid, 1 paid that is not reconciled, and 1 reconciled lost, and various lost that have not been reconciled. We can actually remove and archive reconciled, paid, and lost. How does reconciled come about? Reconciled occurs when a paid adjustment is created on behalf of a particular campus, submitted to the district, and posted. That paid adjustment pulls paids, partial paids, and lost. That is how these particular paid and lost became reconciled. Next, we're going to move over to Tools and talk about removing and archiving collected, paid, and lost. Now that we're on the Tools page, we'll locate the Global Tools header and click on the closing icon. Our area of focus is removing and archiving book history for students. Once we've run this process, a last run date will populate. I'll begin by clicking and noting that this area will remove selected student transactions from current student records and place them in your TIPWeb-IM archives. There's 3 statuses we can work with. We'll start with removing and archiving collected transactions by putting a check mark, which gives us the opportunity to archive collected between 2 particular dates, prior to a date, or all dates. When you do this task is completely up to the discretion of the campus. Many districts do it as part of their closing out the school year. I'm going to go ahead and come down, and to move forward I need to agree. So I'll put a check mark in agree, and note that this process cannot be undone. I don't want to interrupt this process by closing the browser or navigating away from this page, and if I have questions I can reach out to Hayes Software. If I don't agree, I can cancel the operation by checking I do not agree. I do agree, so I want to go ahead and begin archiving this area. Once it's finished processing, all of the collected transactions will be removed and archived. I'll click OK, which brings us back to the Remove Archive Book History for Students area. I'm going to go ahead and go back into this area one more time so that we can discuss removing and archiving reconciled paid, reconciled partial paid, and reconciled lost. I'll put a check mark beside reconciled paid and note that we can archive between two particular dates, or we can choose a prior to date. I'm going to go ahead and select the calendar and move back about a year. The reason I'm choosing that particular time frame is so that if any accession is returned by a student after the date chosen, we'll still be able to find that record in our regular data. Next, I'm going to put a check mark beside Remove and Archive Reconciled Lost. Again, note I can remove between two particular dates, or I can choose again a prior to date. Note that the application already by default backs up by about a year. Once I've completed that, I'll go ahead and put a check mark beside I agree that once this task begins, the following need to be considered. When I'm ready, I click Go to complete the process. This concludes our training on removing and archiving student book history. We want to thank you for watching, and remember, you have unlimited support. Please find additional materials and videos on our Support Center.